Well, it's very nice to be here. I've been asked to sing a verse and chorus of a little marching song of mine the boys adopted more or less during the war. I don't have to tell you I'm not much of a vocalist, but I'll do the best I can with it. So we'll just imagine for the moment we're back in 1917 and the orders from the front. Forward march, Doctor. Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling, you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, don't delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. And tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boy's in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there. Say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Okay, everybody, welcome, Constant Gamers. I am Matt Yancek. I'm the founder, and I am the head game master here at Manufactured Myth and Legerdemain. Welcome to episode 17 of the FiERCE BRooD, an RPG actual play of historic fiction. So in each and every episode, we blend actual locations, events, and historic figures from Boston of 1918 with a fictional story and fictional characters of our own creation. So for those of you that watch and listen carefully, you might notice quite a few historic Easter eggs planted throughout our story. So if you do, please don't be afraid to speak up in the chat. It's all part of the fun. And so as always, I am joined by my merry band here. And I'd like to welcome and introduce you all to my second favorite group of role players. Welcome, gentlemen. Why don't we start over here? Oh, wait. Oh, you know what? People at home may notice that my face, my body, and my entire display here has reversed. The people that are Zooming with me right now, the players, wouldn't notice this, but I've turned the mirroring off on my Zoom so that you can see actually everything that I have in my background. You can, oh, this is really hard. Wait, here? No, here. You can actually read, it says Absolute Dark Night across there now. I know that this is nothing to like the people that like I'm playing with right now, but anyway. Jared, let's start with you. Tell us a little something about your character, if you would.
Sure. I'm playing Thomas Brandon Dietrich. Usually goes by TBD. He is a graceful explorer who learns quickly. Originally from New York, now he's up in Boston. Up there looking for a new job as hopefully a field scientist, helping out pharmaceutical companies get what they need, particularly in this era of the grip. But he's now stumbled into this interdimensional war, and it ends up being the best job that he's ever had.
Excellent. Well, we'll see, because the first season has not ended, so it depends on how well he does. But we'll find out. Thanks a lot for that, Jared. And now, how about down here? James, you want to tell us a little bit about your character, please?
Indeed. I'm playing Vesper Evenwing, a skeptical speaker, musical composer turned con man. Got roped in with this lot, his second favorite RPG group.
Excellent.
And
just continuing with the theme.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. He's feeling like this interdimensional thing is more of a shared delusion, and has just fully embraced going right down that path since he's kind of got nowhere else to be in the world.
It sounds a little bit like my life right now, but that's interesting. But okay, well, thank you
A
so
true inspiration for my character you were,
Yeah,
man.
that's right. The story of my
Yeah.
life. That's right. Nowhere to Go, the Matt Yancic story. Coming soon to NBC. Let's take a look now at Steve. I'm still trying to get the hang of like how to point with like my hand. Let's take a look at Steve. Steve, who are you playing?
I am portraying Ezekiel Z. Brewster, an exiled adept. He was born into a Boston Brahmin family in the time, and in his teen years, under kind of strange circumstances, was exiled, thrown out of the family, and found himself in a foster home, and ended up in a seminary. And through the course of this campaign, he has unlocked some amazing powers that he's still trying to figure out where they're from and how they apply. But that's where we are.
Cool. Excellent. Wait a minute, everyone. We've got a comment in the chat. Let me check it. I just want to make sure. It's from Jared Riley. Matt, you didn't earn the thumbs up. James earned it with the second favorite. Okay, excellent. Well, it's so nice to know. The chat is hopping tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So please feel free to contribute. Don't be afraid. I know there's a lot going on in there, but do your best. We read each and every. Oh, look, there's something.
Live on the air.
James just said something there. He gave 1 XP. Is that for yourself or is that for Jared? Or for me?
Jared gave me an XP. I'm taking it.
I gave him one in the chat.
Okay, all right. An XP or a thumbs up?
Thumbs up and an XP. I'm taking them both.
Yeah, look at the other chat, Matt.
I think. Oh, the other chat, ladies and gentlemen.
We have too many.
I want you to
layered.
I see. This is the problem. If we could focus all of our chats in one chat, we would have a super chat. But unfortunately, we have several smaller, semi-exciting chats going on. But at any rate, let's continue. All right. Let me see here. Hold on for a moment. Let me just see. I'm looking at mirroring on Zoom, and I want to hook my thumb toward Frank, and that means that if it's on the left side on Zoom on my screen, that's my right side. So hook. Hey, I did it. Frank, tell us a little something about your character.
I am playing Frank Murphy from South Boston, now up in Boston.
Right.
I am a resilient warrior who is licensed to carry. So I'm armed and I am licensed to be so. I'm middle-aged. I'm an ex-copper. I'm an ex-night watchman. And quite honestly, I believe I'm a little salty now because I believe last episode we spent the entire night up.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure or not, but I missed breakfast. So let's get this game on the road.
That's right.
You got some pocket bacon.
I was gonna make a joke about being middle-aged, and then I realized I'm also middle-aged, and I decided, well, I think I'll dispense with that one. But at any rate, thank you all very much for tuning in. Let's get back to our story. So in prior episodes of the Fierce Brood, our 4 heroes of 1918 Boston found themselves entangled in an intradimensional conflict between the New England Society for the Preservation of Antiquities and a rival organization called Watch and Ward. So after battling a member of Watch and Ward by the name of Harold Coatsworth III, our heroes escaped to a strange and warped version of Boston called Tremontaine, in a world filled with exotic creatures known as Vagavarians. So there they encountered the actual Mark Twain, the writer, who revealed himself as one of the key leaders of the New England Society for the Preservation of Antiquities. So the 4 returned to Boston to discover that months had passed on Earth. The armistice had been signed and the Great War had ended, but the pandemic had only gotten worse. So now, tasked with locating and possibly eliminating Harold Coatsworth III, our heroes investigated Boston's Sunshine House, a wayward home for children which they suspected to be connected to Coatsworth and Watch and Ward. There, they met Humbert Pantsman, leader of the Sunshine House, and a dead ringer in appearance for Harold Coatsworth III. And while searching the bowels of the building, however, the two uncover a laboratory where it seems clones of homeless children are being fabricated. Vesper and Dietrich, on the other hand, discover that the Purity Distilling Company on the north end of Boston seems to be processing some mysterious materials and transporting them to and from Commonwealth Pier, where we assume they're going to and from Vagavar. After repelling Harold Coatsworth III once again in a battle on the lawn of the Boston Public Library, Vesper discovered that Watch and Ward was working with the Germans. Investigating Commonwealth Pier, the four discover that strange shipments of encephalopowder and a creature called the Exy are moving back and forth between Earth and Vagavar. They manage to capture two of the creatures, which feed off the spirits of the dead, and then bring them to the lair of the FiERCE BRooD. And once there, in the lair, unfortunately, our heroes seem to have gotten themselves in a bit of a bind. A young man, well, a creature by the name of Knife, inspired by what they have done, has taken it upon himself to go and investigate the Sunshine House. Unfortunately, Knife never came back, and now our heroes find themselves late at night on a mission to go to the Sunshine House. They're with a troop of, well, we'll have the players describe exactly who they're with. And at this point, I'm going to turn things over to them. So, Frank, you had actually mentioned that it was all night, but it wasn't necessarily all night. It was late night. I want to say that it was closer to 12 or 1 o'clock, maybe for your stomach. I think that for your stomach, it may feel, several hours are like an eternity.
We were waiting for Knife for what seemed like forever.
Yeah.
And he still didn't show up.
Yeah.
And so we finally broke down and had to go speak to
Jim. One of the leaders, and Xian, who was the woman in the robe whose face you still have yet to see. And they had confirmed that Knife had disappeared. And they had also offered you some assistance. Does anyone remember who that assistance was?
Michael Taylor, right?
Soldiers. Mm-hmm. They were essentially almost like soldier constructs.
Yeah.
And they told us to come along and they'll help out.
Right. So one of them was named Michael Taylor. That is the one that Jared was just referencing. And the others hadn't had any names spoken yet. There were 9 others, I believe. It was either 9 or 11, but either way, it was a small troop of them. And so at this point, the group of you had gathered and made your way through the passages of the lair of the FiERCE BRooD, and you're about to exit the building where the entrance to the underground is, and you're being led out the doors by the troopers. Does anyone want to bring up anything that I may have forgotten to add or correct anything?
One thing we definitely did confirm is that the Sunshine House is not just the orphanage and a suspicious orphanage, but that in fact they are in league with authorities in Boston to take in and steal children from the streets.
Yes.
Which happened with, I think, some thugs, but also police, and there was some Vagavarian being spoken. So it's definitely going deep throughout different layers of the Boston criminal society.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So I think it was in our last episode, you were actually kind of staking out the Sunshine House, and what you saw were several exchanges where police officers and thugs off of the street were bringing children to the Sunshine House and then turning them over. So under ordinary circumstances, that would seem innocent enough. It would seem as if these were caring individuals that were bringing children to a home for children that were lost. However, with what you know about the Sunshine House, the intentions there are far more sinister. So excellent. Thank you for pointing that out. Does anyone else want to add something to that?
That was the last thing we saw in the remote viewing, right?
I think so, unless
Okay.
James can kind of correct that. He was the one that was, or Vesper, I should say.
And we never saw evidence of knife anywhere, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
I distinctly remember that for certain reasons that only a game master would remember it for.
And can all of our little army of troopers fit into the car?
That's a room downstairs.
When you mention that, they kind of look at you funny. And Michael Taylor looks you up and down. Car? What do you mean? We don't need a car. And with that, he, like origami, folds himself into a kind of like living shadow, like shards of shadow that then begin to bond with and walk along the wall. And after a few seconds, he's gone, except for his laughter as he begins to unfold and step down off of the wall. And he looks at you and winks. There are a few, let's just say, positive aspects of reincarnation. And then he smiles.
Seems you'll be waiting for us then.
We will be. But you fellas, from what I understand, and from what we heard, I hope you're not offended, seem to know your way around pretty well, so you'll forgive us if we head out now. I mean, it's sort of a question.
Where do you want to meet?
Well, he gives
We
you...
should
Oh, go
be a
ahead.
block or two away,
Yeah,
right?
so
Unless you, yeah.
if you want, he will exchange coordinates with you, details on where to meet, which aren't really important right now unless you feel like they are. And with that, unless there's another question you have for him, no?
See you there.
What you see are these 10 World War I soldiers, almost mannequin-like, that begin to fold inward on themselves as if they were made out of light and shadow. And they press themselves up against the wall, disappear into the shadows, except for flickering lights and shadows and sparkles every so often as they begin to move and tumble down the wall, slip under the door, and then down the stairwell in front of the building, and then just disappear into the darkness. And every so often, you're able to see a shadow that moves further down the road, a light that seems to dim, and it's only the knowledge that what you are looking at that leads you to believe that anything odd is going on. Otherwise, you would think, it's just a typical evening in Boston. So they're
I want to say
obviously
under the Octocom, that's amazing. I need to learn how to do that.
There's probably a skill for it at a higher tier if you're interested.
You
Jared.
only need to
Haven't found it yet.
reincarnate.
Yeah, you just need to reincarnate. That is correct. Do you gentlemen
with that.
want to check anything or do anything before you head to the meeting point?
Probably just ciphers. I know I have what I have, but
Mhm.
I don't really need any other gear.
So I still have a tissue generation cipher, a special warp cipher, and a tool cipher, which I'm not really sure what any of that does, but
Well,
or spatial warp, not special warp, spatial warp.
there you go. That'll make a big difference. The tool, though, is, I think it was called Tool for the Job or something like that, and I think that it's an asset. It's like an automatic asset or something like that to
Okay,
help you out. Although I would recommend looking it up just to make sure.
sure, I will do so.
Frank, are you all set with your ciphers or need anything
Yep,
cleared
yeah.
up?
I've got my disarm cipher and the controlled blinking, which, when activated, will allow me to take a blow and then basically shoot somewhere else. I'm also just going to grab and absorb my Vagavarian revolver
Mm.
and let that sit inside my forearm and palm, just in preparation and in case it needs to form any flesh bullets.
Excellent. And so you are now getting far more seasoned in using this. And maybe the first few times that you tried to absorb this Vagavarian weapon, it was a little bit tough, a little bit odd, but now you can kind of feel it as it begins to slide up and become one with your flesh.
Like
and
an
then
extension of my arm.
like an extension of your arm, and it lodges itself somewhere deep inside your forearm. And so with that, can we go directly to the building, or did you gentlemen want to sort of form a plan of how to approach before we do this?
We can kind of do it on the way.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Well, sure.
As we're driving.
Yes. So you obviously board the vehicle, you get inside, and then you head toward the rendezvous point. And at this point, I guess the GM is kind of giving you a little help here by just sort of trying to prevent that other time where you guys didn't really have a plan when you first. That's why I'm
Like every
hinting.
other
Like, you
session?
don't. We can fast forward to that moment and we can just get
Nah.
you there. But if you want to formulate a plan, you're welcome to.
Yes, let's do that.
Excellent.
How do you want to do this, guys? I assume we're not going through the front door.
I want to. That seems like a good idea. We already know the lay of the land. Z and I have already been in there. I'd like to go in the front door.
Let's not
Okay.
forget that it seems like, and I don't know, and I don't want to besmirch the man if it's not the case, but it seems like they were tipped off to Knife's presence, and the only one that could have done that was our friend Langdon.
Yeah, he had a slippery feel, and he's not aware of this, to the best of our knowledge.
Well-
Right. We didn't specifically tell him.
And we shouldn't.
No. What's the first goal here, folks? Is it just getting Knife, or are we going full to take the whole thing down?
I don't see the point in making 2 trips.
How inefficient.
Yeah. If we're going in
Right.
to find out what happened to Knife, we have reason to go to the basement to search the records and to free the children, which in my mind is really what this is all about. Whoever can be saved in there needs to be saved.
Okay. Okay, I'm good with that. Are we all going in frontal assault? Do we want to split the party? Have some people go in the back?
It's always good when we
Needs our
split up.
strength, safety, and numbers, I think.
Fair enough.
I agree.
Okay. Then is there any advanced scouting that we can do? Can you look in there, Vesper, and find out who's in there?
I have yet to be inside of Sunshine House, so my vision there will be limited. I can, however, aid our approach and monitor that.
Okay.
But what of the basement windows? They were all very dark and mysterious and rather scary. What other entrances are there?
There is a loading dock in the back. There may be, I don't know, obviously windows at every floor.
Yeah, so I'll re-describe the building because you guys would have this fresh in your mind. It's not like it's something you're going to have to recall. So the building, from what I recall, was 5 stories. There was a front entranceway, set of double doors, and 10, 15 something steps that led up to that. And so that's where you actually saw the police officers and the street thugs as they were kind of like dropping off children. That's also the entranceway where Murphy and Z first entered the building. Now, the two of you, Dietrich and Vesper, you went around opposite sides of the building down alleyways, and that's where you saw those windows where there was strange kind of things going on in there. And it took a little bit of concentration to really actually see. You didn't really see in there, but what you saw was flashes of light. Okay. And Dietrich was the one that continued all the way around to the back of the building where he saw a large loading dock. And when he was sort of searching that back area, he found a whole bunch of crates and debris and footprints that made it look like, and maybe even tire tracks, that made it look like there were vehicles that had been kind of backed up there. Crates had been loaded or something had been loaded. And that's when you initially found the clue with the crate that had writing on the side of it that said Purity Distilling Company. Now, inside, just because I also assume that both Murphy and Z would have described it for you, it was a very long hallway with like a marble floor, and then there was a series of doorways on either side. And initially, when you first go in, there's like kind of I keep resorting to like Alaskan terminology. I want to say Arctic entry. A mudroom? Is that what it's called? A mudroom. When you first enter, it's a small room, and there's like a little reception area where like normally someone would be sitting and kind of receive any guests and sort of make sure or sign them off in a log and all of that. Going deeper in, there were stairwells that went up. And on the right, there was a large craft art room where projects and things like that, like the building of the construction of shoes was done.
Shoes.
There's a kitchen behind that with a refrigerator, and that was the refrigerator that led down into the basement. And then there were a couple levels of dormitories and classrooms,
which Z and I managed to get a slight tour of on our visit.
Yes, exactly. And then there was at the very top, there was Humbert Pantsman's office, which no one got to go in. So that's everything.
I see opportunity.
Well, now we have a bifurcated path, either the topmost part of the building or the mysterious basement.
What's that mean?
Keep up, Murph. You're thinking with your stomach. You must think with your mind. In this case, if we wish to ascend to the top and confront Pantsman, if should he be there, but we also have dealings in the basement, plus the children to liberate.
Which are most likely up, right? The children are most likely up.
Dormitories are upstairs, yes.
Yeah, provided they are in fact there.
And there is a special boy up there who was able to still move when I used my encephalo powder to stop time.
His name was Rafi. Yep.
Yes.
Do we want to do that same thing? Go ahead.
What is that?
Take
stop
some powder.
time?
Ooh, that's a good.
I think it's all well and good that we're making these plans, but perhaps Mr. Taylor has a different idea.
Okay.
He seems to have the troops.
Okay.
Maybe if he wants a frontal assault, we go along with that. But I like the idea of trying to find to try to go into the basement and stop that infernal operation of turning children into skin dogs.
Yes, that must be paramount. That should be the thrust of the attack.
That sounds good.
So do you guys kind of think you know what you're doing?
No.
Yes.
We're going in.
No, but it never stopped us before.
That's right.
We're going to interface with the soldiers. We're probably going to, I think we should, is the refrigerator stairs or entrance to the downstairs near the loading dock area?
It was in the kitchen area.
It was in the rear of the building, so yeah.
The rear of the building.
Probably
yeah.
Get in through the loading dock, get to the kitchen. We got to find signs for knife. We got to get down to the basement, see what's going on,
Get
and
the
then I
files,
think, yeah,
ruin the place.
files, wreck it, and then
the
probably
kids.
try and get ascend through the building to liberate children and confront Pantsmen.
Well, and the plan was to bring the children back to the safe house
Yeah.
area, right?
Yep.
Which certainly Mike Taylor can help out with if these guys are still around with us.
Right. And what was the head nurse's name?
Priscilla.
And she's in on it.
Yeah, and she had powers, correct? She was able to communicate with us from a
She
distance?
spoke to us with remote, yes,
Yeah.
some kind of telepathy.
Since I had gone down a side of the building, I do have a prior visual towards the back.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'll be able to look at the loading dock remotely to help our approach.
So
I
do
think
you,
we'll get
let me
with
ask you this, do you have that now, or is that something you're going to engage when you get there? It's something you engage when you get there, correct?
I can put it on whenever I want. To last for an hour. So yeah, I can start it now while we're on the ride.
Do you want to start it just before, only because, no, I'm just asking. Do you want to start it when the car pulls up?
I think I want to talk. Well, we're not going to just pull directly up to the building.
Right.
We're going to park right out front. We don't hide from anybody.
Park right out front and walk.
Keep the engine running.
Like four gunfighters, just like walk
right.
straight up the stairs.
The Sunshine Corral. We're
That's
gonna
right.
When we get eyes on the soldiers, I'm gonna fire it up.
Okay.
And then we can get out of the car and do stuff because I just have to concentrate to flip back and forth with it.
That makes sense. So here's what I'm gonna say. You make it to the rendezvous point, which is a block and a half away in a corner alleyway somewhere. And the moment that your vehicle pulls in and you step out of it, there's kind of like a cool silence in the alley. And all you hear is just the sound of maybe a stray cat in heat. You might hear a dog barking. And then you start to notice the shadows begin to unfold down from the brickwork of the buildings on either side of you, sliding down these tenement buildings of the North End. And as they do, these shadows kind of deposit themselves on the gravel, and then they begin to unfold themselves upward, looking once again like those soldiers that you saw before. And Taylor is there in the lead, and he gives you a wink when they reform. And you notice that he's not as bright as a normal human being would now be at this point. He's rather dim, as if he were camouflaged into his surroundings. And every so often he steps into a shadow, and it looks like a part of him kind of disappears. And then he steps out, and maybe some light from the moon hits him and highlights him. And he looks at each and every one of you and nods as if sizing you up. And then with that, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to turn... So just to sort of explain this to those that may be watching, and my players kind of know that I do this, I find it really boring to have every single guy, like NPC, engaged in combat and doing things. So at this point, I'm going to kind of turn over the use of these NPCs to you, the players. What do you think they should do to either support you or be a lead for you or do to help you to get this done? What do you guys want to do with the NPCs? They're deferring to you on this. They have some ideas. They're willing to work with you on it. What do you think?
My vote is advanced scouting. Find out where people are.
No argument there.
With their foldability?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
They can sneak in and tell us who's in the building and where they
things
are in the building.
Yeah. Make sure the stairs are down to the refrigerator is where we think it is by the loading dock, all that.
And
yeah,
so
that's great.
They recommend
And
that as a good idea. Is there anything else
I
you'd
think
like them to
then
kinda
once
do?
we're going to decide to go in,
Yeah.
we can have them like watch the entrance points, the front and the back. And then,
And staircases.
yeah, and if things go according to plan, then once we're kind of ready to move through the building, we can help. They can help us, support us.
Maneuver the kids.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
liberate kids and whatnot.
Question: do they appear to be armed in any way?
Looking at them, they do appear to be armed. They've got like rifles slung over their shoulders, but as to whether or not those rifles function or work, that's sort of another question. Like looking them up and down, they're wearing clothing, right? But the clothing doesn't look like it's real clothing. They look like these living mannequins in a way. So they may be capable of doing other things, or maybe they really do use those rifles. I mean, you could just simply ask them. If you
Yeah,
wanna...
are those rifles live ammunition? Are you guys prepared for war?
They explain, or I should say Taylor explains rather quickly because he looks like he wants to get going with the mission, that essentially these are just physical manifestations of their real abilities, and each and every one of them has a different ability. And when he leans in
Cool.
and looks at you, he unslings his rifle, and as he unslings it, what you see is a lick of flames and fire come out of the end that doesn't really make any sense. And then with it, he shoots just a very quick geyser of flame forward that just disappears as quickly as it had appeared. And then he slings the rifle back over his shoulder, and he gives you one of those winks, which is now becoming a signature feature.
Perhaps not that when we're in the basement, but sounds wonderful.
That's right. No fireballs in small enclosed areas. Got it.
Do any of you have the ability to communicate with us remotely?
He looks around. Well, a few of us are on octocoms. Are you?
We are, and I'll say we are using the Octocom.
He's startled by that. And with that, you get this kind of feeling as if there's some sort of transfer of data or link up that's now happening between each and every one of you. And there's this weird kind of sense of camaraderie that now passes between all of you. It's almost as if you've been friends, or it might be a high, or perhaps something else, an effect, like a feeling, an emotion in your brain that just feels as if you're connected with this group. And now each one of them looks at you and they nod. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of task them with doing? Because I wanted to remind Vesper. That's actually pretty funny. I wanted to remind Vesper that you did want to get your remote viewing going. Did you want to do that as they're departing?
Yeah.
Now that you met them? Okay.
Yeah, now that we've established we can communicate, they're get ready to mobilize. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the loading dock area so I can keep an eye on it and see what's happening.
So they all fold into those.
Just as they're going, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll communicate. Can we have at least one person kind of go and find Priscilla?
One of them nods.
As a real target. Yeah.
They get it.
Okay.
They got the order. So they begin to fold themselves up again, disappear into the shadows, and they start, some of them climb over the building, and then some of them go to the left and the right. And I want to remind you, you're in an alley, you're like an alley and a half, away from the main building. So they're climbing over a building between you and the main building. They're not climbing over the building itself. And then they sort of disappear into the darkness. So
That's awesome.
Vesper, with that, you're going to do your remote viewing thing, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to kneel down, and as I do, Mars comes out from behind my leg, and I'll pet her, and then I kind of glaze my eyes a bit as I look towards the direction of the Sunshine House, and then just place that sensor in flip into it so I can see what's going on.
So you kneel down and Mars appears. And the three of you that have witnessed this a bunch of times still can't quite get used to this image of this cat that's just there now. And she comes around from your leg and you pet her. And so is she the one that's going to actually go out and scout, or does
No, this
She's
is
gonna
just
stay
an
with you?
ability.
Okay. So then
I probably will use her in such a way later, but for now, no.
one thing I want to say is when she comes out from your legs, she looks off down an alleyway and gives you a look as if she sees something or knows something that you don't.
Immediately, as soon as I sense her doing that, I subvocally in the octocom direct the group to investigate that.
So with
And I'll let her, like, if she needs to lead anyone or trot off to investigate that too.
Well,
Does that
Vesper, you're able to see those doorways, right? To Vagavar?
He is.
Yeah, right. I'll interrupt what I'm doing and immediately shift to that vision.
Shifting to that vision, you see through the building that's between you and the Sunshine House. And what you see again is this enormous kind of odd cube that's just blocking your vision. And you're not really certain, but you feel like, well, maybe you've experienced this or seen this before. And it takes you back to the block that you had when you were remote viewing the Germans back 3 or 4 episodes ago, when you were in Boston Public Library's front, the yard, and battling Coatsworth. It also takes you back to the first time you encountered the Sunshine House. And you get the idea that whatever's going on tonight, whatever's blocking your vision of what's inside there, it's in full effect. It's that negative space. But you don't see anything like, you can kind of, it's almost like an x-ray vision as you look through the building next to you. There's nothing there, nothing looking this way or that way. Even now that you're training your vision, though, at the underground, you can see that the underground is blocked somehow. And it's only because you have that experience running around through the underground of the Fierce Brood's lair that you even think to look for it. So I guess what I'm trying to explain here is that you don't see anything except for that protective blocking, that black negative space that you've seen before, as if something were trying to prevent you from seeing into the building.
Yeah, I'll respond to Murph in Octocom's just that something is obscuring the vision. This negative space that we've experienced and seen in the underground is actively blocked for me.
Probably not a good sign.
I think that means they know we're coming.
Or they're in full force because of knife.
I turned my attention to Mars, and she had indicated a direction of something.
Back down the alley. She's looking at something, but she doesn't look particularly worried.
I want to look as well.
But she looks concerned.
Goggles.
As you're looking with the goggles into the darkness, make a roll for me on that, Jared, as you look with the goggles. So just to sort of let people know what's going on at home, with Cipher System, it works on a 10 level task difficulty level. So I set a difficulty from 1 to 10, and then the player then tries to modify it and ease the target number using skills, abilities, and effort. So then the player themselves, once we've kind of negotiated through that, the player then makes a roll to see if they succeed on that. So as you're looking into the darkness, I'll give you the goggles obviously as an asset.
Okay. Are we? Am I considered to have only rarely been here, visited here before? Since this is only the second time.
Why would he be asking?
Why do I feel like you're not using rarely with a lowercase r? It's like a capital R. It's like an R that's. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is rarely. This is probably the second time.
Then I get a free level of effort of perception.
Okay.
I'm trained in perception, and I'll use a level of effort.
That didn't go the direction I thought. No, you don't. You don't roll. That
19.
is. What'd you get? What'd you get?
19.
Well, okay. You
BG just discovered the secret of life with that roll.
see a number
All right,
42
great game,
spray
guys.
painted on a.
See you next time.
What you see is a large creature. The creature that you saw protecting the door when you first entered the lair of the FiERCE BRooD, that has got his shoulders up and is almost, it looks like he's kind of hopping. He's kind of he's squatting on the ground in the corner with his knees up and his arms over them. And he's just like going up and down in that sort of motion that you make when you're when a child is crying. And beside him, Mars runs out from your hands, or right from your grip, Vesper, and runs up to this creature and begins sniffing. And the creature kind of looks up for a moment and looks really shocked and jumps backward. And then it looks up and sees the four of you. Oh. Are we in trouble? Yeah, I didn't. Oh no. Oh. It looks very confused and a little frightened by your appearance.
Not so intimidating now, is he?
Not anymore.
I definitely want to walk over and kind of give him the, it's okay hand sign and say, no, you're not in trouble. But what are you doing out here? And who's we?
Oh, the creature stays sitting, squatting down, and looks from one to the other of you. And just as Murphy has kind of said, the creature's not so intimidating anymore. And it looks at you. Are you looking for? We're not in trouble, are we? I lost my kitty. I need my kitty. I don't know where Knife is. I'm very worried now. We came out to look. Are you here to help?
We're here to look for Knife.
Knife went that way. He went to the building. I didn't. We got separated because we were attacked. And I ran. I shouldn't have run. And now Knife is gone and my kitty's gone. I don't know what to do.
Attacked by who?
By I don't know what they were. They were like either maybe I think they were operati. And just to sort of remind you, and I think I've mentioned them before, operati are like these magma-like creatures with like these dark glass kind of exoskeletons, and then like magma flowing through their veins. I think you had kind of encountered them once before, but actually, if not in this game, that it was in another game that we played in this universe that we didn't stream. And so this creature is just kind of like shaking and blubbering now, and just obviously feels like they're in real trouble.
Well, time to redeem yourself. We're going in after Knife. Are you with us?
I'll help, but am I in trouble?
No.
No.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I'm not in trouble. And then he begins to just suddenly grow immensely. And as he does so, he actually scoops Mars, not holding on, but like puts his palm out, and Mars is happily hops into it, and he's petting Mars now. And then sets Mars down gently, and Mars sort of steps out and away from him. My name is Sewell. I'm sorry, but I hope we can kind of fix this now. I'm a little worried. I know I shouldn't have come out here, but now Knife is gone and my kitty's gone. I'm worried about my kitty.
Hey, Matt, while Sewell is blubbering,
Mm-hmm.
I am going to octocom to Michael and the other guys this new intelligence that there could be operati in the vicinity, that if things go poorly for them, to please let us know as soon as possible.
They
Knife might
roger
be in
that.
there.
They roger
And
that.
that it appears they are on alert.
Okay. They roger that, and they continue, and they give you a signal back saying they'll be there in a few seconds, and they're going to start their infiltration in just a moment as soon as they sort of plot their strategy.
I want to let Mars know that I'll be calling upon her quite a bit probably for our little operation, and that part of her mission will be to find Sewell's kitty.
She looks actually
Considering
pretty
we
happy
heard
at that
one in the area.
when you mention it. And
Yeah, and I'm gonna just immediately turn and get to my remote viewing because I haven't been able to get it up yet.
So as soon as you turn away, she sort of cruises with a purpose out of there, and the three of you sort of watch as she just sort of disappears, or maybe she doesn't. You're not really sure. It's really hard to tell with Mars. Sometimes she just disappears, but that doesn't make sense. And then when you snap into your remote viewing, you start to hover up in the air over that very first building, and then you approach slowly the Sunshine House, and you notice immediately on the top of the Sunshine House there are what look to be 4 figures, one on each corner of the building, the roof. You continue to hover over it, making your way into the back. And you wanted to check the alley specifically, was that correct? Or the whole thing? Or...
Past the alley to where the loading dock is.
Right.
To monitor that area.
Okay, yeah. So you're checking out the loading dock, and as you hover to the back there, what you're able to see at first is some sort of shadowy movement, which you think at first is actually, well, it's those soldiers. But then as your vision drops 1 story, 2 stories, 3 stories, and gets closer, what you discover is that in the darkness, there are 3 trucks that are now being loaded with what look like cocoons. And they're being taken off the loading dock, and the people, now these are people that you see, they look like a mixture of workers there at the Sunshine House. They're wearing the sort of uniform that they wear. They're moving them along with several of the drivers that you recognize from before when you were at the Purity Distilling Company. And together, they're transporting them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And essentially, they're moving these large cocoons that are probably 5, 6, 7 feet long, 3 or 4 feet wide. And they're kind of dripping with this wet, webby substance as they move them to the vehicles.
3 trucks and 3 cocoons?
3 trucks and dozens of cocoons.
Dozens of
Oh,
cocoons.
Jesus.
There are
All right.
4 or 5 on each one, maybe.
I'm going to just immediately relay that to the group, but then I'm going to specifically address Taylor that there are 4 observers on the roof. It would seem we should disrupt this cocoon operation, but will be observed if they are not taken care of.
We can take care of them, but there's something else you need to know. And he comes back to you to let you know, all 4 of you know, The children all appear to be awake. They're in their windows, he describes, and they're just looking out the windows. The lights are off, but they're standing there. And it looks like there are maybe 2 children in each room. And we're talking about maybe, you know, I hadn't actually thought that deeply about it, but I'm going to say like 60 children, 80 children maybe. They're staring out their windows. He doesn't know what they're looking for. And he doesn't think he should disturb them unless you say otherwise. But he's now got men, he says, that are infiltrating the building, and we'll get back to you about details on what's going on inside. But he's going to definitely send some men up to the top, to the roof, to take care of those 4 sentries.
You guys get the impression that the sentries aren't the only lookouts we're dealing with right now?
I believe the children are in that service as well, as you imply. How can we hide their vision from raising an alarm?
I don't know that we can. They're watching for something. Why don't we give them something to report or focus on? I'd be happy to create a distraction. I'm feeling rather invincible. It's all those BLTs I ate, I think.
I might be able to create something, but I can't think of a way to... I've got it. Let's prepare to get to that point, but let's not just yet enter the area of the loading dock where we'll be seen. We should wait for Taylor to report back, and then I will try to create something that might at least help us at the loading dock zone.
You want us to get closer?
Yeah, I think we should get closer. We're pretty
I think
far
so
away.
too. Yeah.
I'm going to pop up my overcoat, pull out a Pall Mall and light it, and then start to limp down the alley and around the corner, not to get right out in front, but be as close to get eyes on the building, but still be somewhat hidden with the subterfuge that I'm just any old vagrant out having a smoke.
You going out alone?
I will go close by, but stay in the shadows.
Okay. So let's do this then. Let's start with Murphy as he turns his collar up and starts to kind of limp out there, kind of, you know, a little bit back and forth, just trying to look like a regular Joe, a little too late, smoking his cigarette. You can immediately see that the building appears to be dark, and every so often you squint your eyes and you're not sure, but you think you see like a shadow folding its way up the side of the building. Taking a look, you do at the front of the building, at the front 2 corners on the roof, you see 2 silhouettes. What they are, you're not quite sure, but you do make them out where they are. The other thing you notice is that you have to squint, and it's really hard to see. But yeah, it does look like in those windows, you're not sure, but it does look like they're about the height of a child or 2. Every window has a couple. But to really get a good look, you'd have to get
Step
much
out.
closer to the building.
I don't think we're ready for that yet.
And then Dietrich, what are you doing as you kind of follow along? You are...
I'm going full stealth. I want to go totally in the shadows, and I want to end up getting into a position where I can get my goggle eyes on the drivers, the cocoons, and I guess the observers up at the top.
Do you want to go around the back of the building? Because the drivers and the cocoons, those are at the loading dock in the back of the building. So you're going to be going in the opposite direction of Murphy.
Oh, he was going towards the front?
Yeah, I'm going to the front.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
I
looking at the
misunderstood.
front.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess I'm going to go off on my own and stay stealth towards to get a good eye on the back.
Okay.
I
All
don't
in
need
shadows.
cover, TBD. Head back there.
So you start back down the alley, and you hook a left, and then start going toward the area where they're loading, and you get to a point in the shadows where you know if you take one more step, it's going to be kind of dicey. So from where you're at, I'll just say that you can see exactly what Vesper kind of just described. You don't quite see the detail that he described, but maybe your imagination kind of fills that in, because he was talking about like these wet, gooey kind of cocoons. But you can see as workers are coming and going, and they're working together with staff at the Sunshine House to load up these trucks. And they're not loading crates. They're loading these cocoons.
Okay. What are the workers?
They
And the
look
staff. Are they human?
looking
Are they not Vagavarian?
looking at them from here. It's too dark to really see. I don't know if you remember, but I had sort of described the fact that the lights were off and they appeared to be almost operating in darkness as they do this. Every so often, the lights inside the Sunshine House are open, at least in this loading area, and you can see like just a very stark silhouette as it enters and exits. But it's not enough light to really give you an image of what it is. If you want to see these guys, you're going to have to get closer, and you're going to have to start doing some rolling.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of rolling. Let's do that.
I ain't afraid of rolling. What's the worst could happen?
Exactly.
He's
I'm
he
gonna
is
let everybody know.
skilled in nat 20ing.
Yes. It's an
I'm definitely
asset,
letting
actually.
everybody know where I'm going. That I'm trying to get a little closer, and to see what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. So, what kind of roles are you looking for?
I am looking for... Well, you can kind of tell me. Obviously, it's a stealth roll, so you can use... You know, you're going to have to stay in the shadows, stay close to, stay behind, like, garbage dumpsters and
Yep.
move
Okay.
around cans and crates.
Okay. Well then, I guess in the beginning here, I'll go ahead and break the game, and say that since I am trained in stealth and I have my expert skill, I'm going to automatically succeed in my stealth.
Thank you
but
for telling me.
But I also
afraid
have
of rolling.
subtle steps. So as long as I'm moving only a short distance, I make no sound.
Okay, can you rewind and tell me everything that you have there? So you've got, you're
I'm
trained,
trained in stealth.
Trained
right?
in stealth,
So then
okay.
the expert skill power says I auto succeed on any skill I'm trained in.
Just auto
As long as it's not
succeed.
Yep, as long as it's not an attack or defense.
Okay.
Yep. And then subtle steps allows me to move a short distance with no sound.
Did you build a peeping Tom character? Is that what you did?
The ultimate. He built George McFly from Back to the Future.
That's right.
Actually, George McFly was not a perfect peeping Tom.
No.
All right, well, I'll just say that you do auto-succeed on this one. You manage to get a lot closer, and working your way through the alleys along the edge of the building, remaining in the shadows, you take a look, and indeed, these are Vagavarians. And the Vagavarians that you see... You see operati in their full form. So the operati are these large kind of immensely shouldered creatures that are made from this kind of black volcanic kind of rock that is incredibly reflective, and they have hot magma sort of coursing through their veins, and they actually, as they work, they're giving off, one important fact that I forgot to add is they're giving off steam, as if they were like trains almost. And you can see there are there's like a furnace in their chests that's burning coal, or so it seems. So these are not just regular old kind of bruisers here. There's something to these guys. So they're pretty badass.
Okay. What about the staff that are helping them?
Everybody
Or is it
appears that
just
way.
them? Everybody is
Mhm.
operati. All right, then I will let everybody know over the octocoms that the operati are the ones here working on the loading dock.
How many are there, TBD?
How many are there, DM?
There are, I would say you've seen at this point probably about 10.
Oh, mama.
Auto succeed on that.
Don't get mad at
Can
me.
you-
You get mad at Monty Cook.
I know. Monty, if I ever meet you, Monty.
TBD, can you get a better look at those cocoons? Is there anything? Can you see inside
He
them?
can see-
Are they...
He can see better. Like looking at them, they're kind of gelatinous in their form, and watching as they're loaded on the trucks could be your imagination, but there's a large form inside each and every one of them.
Is there any word coming down from Taylor about the roof observers?
He says that they are in position and they're just waiting for your word to take them down. And when he says, well, okay, that's what he says. I'll let you kind of decide when you want to do it. You can just sort of tell me.
Well, what's the point here, guys? Do we need to get closer to those cocoons?
Well, I think we need to deal with the roof. I have a diversion for the children, but we're going to need the rest of the soldiers' help if we're to enter from this direction with the cocoons.
Yeah.
Then let it be so. Taylor, go ahead, and we'll need your help in the back when you're complete.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. I'm going to have each one of you kind of represent the soldiers. So what I'd like each one of you to do is just make a roll for me. And, well, let me know, how would you deal with taking down one of these creatures? And tell me what you would do if you were going to take them down. So let's try and do this kind of quick and easy, and then I won't tell you the results until all 4 rolls are kind of done.
This is on the roof, correct?
Yeah, so you want to start, Murphy? It sounds like you're pretty... Let us know.
And these 4 creatures, we haven't determined whether they're operati or human, have we? I mean,
No.
are we working under the assumption? But as a soldier there...
Yeah, what are they?
So
Well, they're
as
looking
a
out.
soldier taking a look, what you believe you see when you look over there are German soldiers.
Ooh.
But they have the same sort of visage that you do. In other words, the soldier you.
As a soldier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So some sort of strange construct.
Did Taylor send? Was it all the troopers went up top, or just
He
a small
sent
subset?
4, one
4.
for each.
So if the idea is to eliminate this guy, and they're looking out, I'm going to try to just push them off the roof.
So then what you would probably have to do is sort of leap up as a shadow, unfold yourself, grab the creature, or the German, if that's what it is, this German creature, yank it over the edge.
Yeah.
What do the other 4 of you, or what do the other 3 of you think of that? Because you can work as a team now.
Oh, that's true.
I'll join in that action.
Yeah, that'll work. And I'm gonna, I guess, as Vesper, be ready for, like, as soon as this happens to take another action. But yeah, I'm poised, ready to leap up and grab this soldier to the ground.
Okay.
Hey,
How
can we?
How about you, Dietrich?
Sure, I'm in.
Okay.
If we fall off the edge, can we fold into a paper airplane and safely
Thinking about
to
it,
the ground?
You wouldn't have to. You would like fold into light. You just sort of
Just go
know that you could
two-dimensional
kind of
and-
like, yeah, you would like ride a
Like a
beam of
shadow.
light
Yeah.
or a shadow down to the ground.
My soldier construct is essentially more bloodthirst than the other, so I'm also going to go in with the knife. As
I
I'm
was
pulling
thinking
them
the
off.
same thing, kind of knife him as I'm pulling him
And
down.
take them around. All right, so
Yeah.
give each one of you an asset for that. That's probably a pretty good. So why don't we do this? I'm going to count the knife as an asset. I'm going to count the surprise as an asset. And I want everybody to go ahead and make a roll. So I'm easing the task by 2.
Do the soldiers have XP to burn?
I rolled a 17.
All right.
I got a 15.
Yeah.
15.
As I said, do the soldiers get XP to burn? Rolled a
Oh.
Ooh, a 3.
Okay.
I am
just keep
I
rolling.
never roll well.
Just keep rolling. Okay, go ahead, Dietrich.
Out of 15.
Okay. Each and every one of you leaps up, and you're all kind of working together. And as you leap up, because you've been working together for a while, you sort of feel what the other is doing. And Frank, what's the name of your character? Just tell me. Give me a name.
Harold.
Harold? Harold.
Harold. No
Harold.
H is silent.
Okay. Harold leaps up, and the first thing you see is a startled-looking German mannequin. And this creature looks so much like you, and you're not used to seeing others like you, but you don't take any time to think about it. You grab him by the head and you shove your knife up into and below his jaw, and then yank him off, almost kamikazeing with him, and take him with you off the top of the building. And as his body falls, you fold into light and disappear. What are you doing, Steve?
I wasn't planning on being that gory, but just
Okay.
leap up and toss him over the side.
So you leap up yourself, and perhaps being a slightly more tempered individual, you just simply grab him and then pull your German off the side, and then a few times send the knife into his stomach as he plummets, and then you fold into light and ride a shadow down. Dietrich, what are you up to? Or I should say, Jared, what are you up to as your soldier?
Definitely going the gory route. Knife to the throat, throw him off.
So you actually bring your knife up, and instead of like shoving it into and under his chin, you actually bring it around him as if you were embracing him in a hug, and bring it back down into his spine, severing his head from the rest of his body, or at least his spinal column. And then with that, just hold on to him for dear life and pull him over the edge. And then his body tumbles to the ground, folding over and over into darkness, into light and shadow, and disappearing. And then what's your attempt, Vesper? Or I should say James.
I spring up and I reach for my knife, but grab my bayonet on accident, and it just throws me for a loop. And I thrust and just kind of end up kind of sideways onto him and start grappling with him, because I assume I miss hard.
You do miss hard, and having brought the wrong weapon out, you are thrown off for a bit, and you're forced to wrestle him to the ground. And the two of you start rolling end over end, and you're kind of pummeling him with punches, because you're just sort of thinking you don't want him to alert anyone. He's attacking you, so go ahead and make a defense roll on this. And he's just pulling his fists and swinging them at you.
14.
14 does it. So you manage to kind of like repel him. If you've got that bayonet right now, you want to try and...
Yeah, I try for that heroic last move and like reach up like this and just plunge it wildly down.
So you got the bayonet, and we'll say that you've also got a... Well, you don't have surprise anymore. Go ahead.
He rolled a 1.
A 1? I'm earning my pay tonight. So just to let everybody at home that's watching along know, upon the roll of a 1. It is an automatic GM intrusion. Oh, are you retiring your die?
That one's gone. I don't think that has rolled well for me once.
Yeah, well, that's pretty appropriate for a die that rolls 1s all the time, not to roll once correctly. And as this happens, the German actually on that, unfortunately, manages to get that knife out of the sleeve and then brings it down on you several times. And as this is happening, you forget to actually the fact that you could fold into light and darkness, and it manages to just like that German creature just manages to slide the knife between your ribs one too many times and then stumbles backward. And then the two of you are staring at each other and you can barely move until suddenly you just hear a scream erupt. And then you realize it's not a scream from the mouth because the German's mouth isn't moving at all. It's a scream in your mind. And with that, it's a signal that's going out, you realize. And you're face down, just flat on the roof, and the German just runs past you. And you can just sort of feel your life bleeding out of you. So with that, all of you, the 4 of you, and now I'm talking back to Murphy, Z, Vesper, and Dietrich, you all are aware of this scream that's just been like broadcast on a wideband to every creature in the area that someone is coming. Someone is here. And wherever you happen to be, if you are looking at one of the enemy, and I'm assuming that's you, Dietrich, or maybe you, Vesper, who's kind of monitoring stuff, or Murphy, if you're watching, maybe what you're immediately aware of is this feeling that suddenly everyone just stops and they're looking around. They're trying to see who's there. And you can even feel it as you hear over the octocom the soldiers on your side as they start like there's a chatter that goes back and forth between them. They're all worried. They're all aware that something's going on, and they're all trying to deal with it. What do you gentlemen wish to do to handle this?
Boys,
you got 6 soldiers left.
Head
Or,
to the loading
9.
dock.
Mm-hmm.
9 soldiers?
9.
Mm-hmm. Good.
No, at this point, I'm going to throw my cigarette butt down and start limping towards the front door of the Sunshine House.
Mm-hmm. Everybody else?
I'm gonna follow Murphy.
You're after. So the two of you sort of make these almost like I said, you're like gunfighters now, and you can just see in the Sunshine House, there's all kinds of stuff happening. A few lights are going on in the building, and they essentially they light up those kids as silhouettes as they're staring out. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vesper.
You're going to the front door?
Yeah, Vesper, TBD. We're going to put all eyes on us. Use the soldiers and get in any way possible.
There are a distraction. What do you got, Vesper?
Just I'm gonna submit my epitaph to the paper, and
I have a contact there. It's
That's right, he does. You can get discounts.
I'm gonna take a chance.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I bend down and grab a rock just off the road, off the ground in front of me, and pull my knife as I stand up, and I'm gonna just hurl it ahead of me and start running, and I'm running towards the loading dock. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to cast hedge magic on this rock.
Oh.
So now I'm going to be able to float it, and I'm going to change its appearance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that directly to the back of the building.
Nice.
Above the heads, maybe in like the second story in the back. And I'm booking straight for the door of the loading dock. And I'm going to try to get there before these other guys can do it. And like right at that perfect time, I'm gonna just make it a shower of sparks, a huge light display.
I love this.
Flash.
Okay, so essentially what you're doing is you're using your dying soldier to toss something off the top of the building, and then Vesper is kind of in contact, and Vesper is going to turn that thing into like a showery.
Oh no, I was Vesper at this moment. I thought my soldier was dead.
Oh, I thought that the reason why you're picking up your knife was because you were the soldier. You can do either one. That's totally fine.
I have a knife. That's the only thing Vesper has.
Got it.
But as soon as I hear that call from Frank, I'm gonna pick up that rock and grab my knife and start running and cast it ahead of me to fly it right towards around that middle of the second story above the loading zone.
Yeah.
And I'm running straight for the loading zone door.
Yeah.
And then like right as I'm about to hit being visible, and maybe they might be about to notice me, I'm gonna just flash it in a huge array of sparks.
All right. So I have 2 assets there, and then your ability. With that, to be honest, you don't even have to roll. And that is indeed what you do, is you plow forward as quickly as you can, knowing that just all like hell has just broken loose. And if it hasn't, it's about to. And then you toss that stone in this, you lob it in this just extreme arc, and you can kind of see it moving slowly. And then as it does move, you just raise your hands pointing at it, and then you direct all of your focus on that stone. And every single person in that alleyway, as suddenly, there's just a sudden explosion of sparks. And every single creature, whatever it happens to be, is just for that moment is blinded by this light that just is so bright you can't even see the features of the building around you. And everyone falls to the ground. Anyone that's loading a cocoon drops a cocoon. Anyone that's talking with someone else, anyone that had stopped for just a moment is just totally knocked off of balance. Many of these people, all of them just jump because they're startled by it. But quite a few of them actually throw themselves on the ground because of the fact that they're just so frightened by what they've seen, and they're trying to get some cover. And with that, initiative needs to be rolled. So just to let everybody know watching at home, the system I use is right out of the book. It's one of the optional rules. I have all 4 of the players roll for initiative. I take whatever their highest roll is, and then I compare that to the level of the target creatures. And so, if they roll higher, then I let all 4 of them go first. If they roll lower, then I let the bad guys go first. So go ahead and roll, guys.
10.
4.
19.
Nice.
I got 11, but initiative is eased by 1 for me.
Okay, so that would have been not an 11. That would have been
14.
Right. Better math than I. But James is 19, gets it. So you gentlemen all have the opportunity now to go ahead and make a move. And I'm going to count your soldiers as a move as well. So I'm going to give, of course, Murphy, you can continue with yours. Z, you can continue. Dietrich, you can continue. And I'm going to give you, well, I'll give you an option. Do you want to keep the guy on the roof, or do you want to go with a fresh soldier? Looking around, the guy's not dead. He's down and he's badly wounded. And there's like an entranceway. He could make his way down there. It's up to you. I'll give you the choice.
I don't think I understand.
Oh, I'm just saying that I'm counting the soldiers as someone that's part of the initiative. Someone you can kind of control, right? So if you want to still control your soldier that was stabbed, you can go ahead and do that.
No, he's bringing back bad memories for me.
Okay.
Where are the other soldiers if I were to inhabit one of them? Is there one?
There are quite a few of them that are kind of stuck on the building. There's one on the loading dock, near the loading dock, like up above it. You could have it fold down and...
Yeah, I'll have someone that's able to act on the loading dock.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially I want to take some action to like clear the door.
Mm-hmm.
so that Vesper can like head inside.
So then in that case, what you have is a soldier that's kind of like sliding down in that origami lightness and dark kind of like shards of almost like plate glass as it folds down the wall and then drops down on top of one of the or a couple of the, just call them bad guys, the operati for right now. Go ahead and make an attack roll. I'll give them the height as as an advantage, as an asset. I'll also give him the fact that he's made out of what could be like shards of glass, and then anything else.
He has a 6.
6. He is actually, with that, barely able to do it. He does knock a few guys down on the loading dock. Everybody's free to act at this point.
I'm at the door, right? It's a double door.
Taking a look as both you and Z are kind of moving up really quickly to the front of the building. And
we've been here before.
There are some lights. Yes, you've been here before. There are some lights that have gone on. And what you now see is a worker that comes up to the front doors, and they start to, like, as if they're going to close them.
No.
The doors were open?
The doors were open.
The front, well, here's the way I pictured it. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like when you have those, oh my gosh, like it's like a lobby where you have the front doors open, but the main doors to get into the building are actually closed. So that's the way I had pictured it.
Got it.
Okay.
Now they're trying to close the outer doors?
They're trying to close the outer doors.
Wait, we're here to check on your broken doors.
Go ahead and make a roll and see if you can get them.
I'm going to I am skilled or specialized in persuasion.
Oh.
Ooh.
So I'm going to use that, and I will use one intellect effort just to try and convince them not to completely close them down.
Yeah.
And I rolled a 14.
You do. They hesitate for just a moment. What? And now that they're kind of looking at you, you don't see that they're operati. But you can kind of see the way that they're moving and gesturing, and you're not sure, but is there like some sort of smoke kind of coming out of the back end of them? You're not really... What are you going to do, Steve?
These doors...
I am going to use force at a distance, which is a kind of telepathic attack.
Yeah.
And I'm going to basically freeze the guy that was trying to close the door.
Okay.
And just kind of push him away from the door as, I'm assuming Murphy and I are going to move forward and kind of charge in, as well as our soldiers.
Yeah.
So,
you can have a soldier as an asset. Like, we can just say your soldier's with you.
Sure.
I mean, if you
we
guys want to
assume
do
that
it
ours
that way.
made it down to the ground.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'll automatically just remind me to tag a soldier on as an asset for all of you, and then you've got the ability itself. Do you want to put any effort or anything into this?
I'm just going to read. I'm just going to the page where the ability is just to see what the actual mechanics are. And you temporarily bend the fundamental law of gravity around a creature or object up to twice your mass within short range. Target is caught in a telekinetic grip, and you can move it to a short distance in any direction. Each round that you retain your hold, a creature in your grip can take actions, but it can't move under its own power. Each round after the initial attack, you can attempt to keep your grip on the target by spending 2 additional intellect points and succeeding at a difficulty 2 intellect task.
So you're essentially puppeting him.
Yes.
Okay.
So do I roll for this?
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
suppose?
Go ahead and make a roll.
Okay. All right. And then I'll apply. I will use an effort. And I will use the and I'll use the soldier as an asset.
Go right ahead.
And I will roll a 3.
You are barely able to do this. And this creature that looks human and looks like a staff member stops momentarily, and you can see as its grip loosens on the door, and it steps back. And now what do you want it to kind of do?
I want it to back away from the
It
door
backs.
and release the grip on the door.
It backs away, and the other creature, which is, again, looks like a human staff member, but you assume that it is not, it just looks confused as it's happening and watches the two of you.
And I tell my soldier, charge through.
And the
bar
soldier
the door.
just charges through, knocks him down, and he gets to, he fires himself forward like shards of glass, riding the light and the darkness, and then wedges himself in between the next set of doors and then begins to open them up. And so with that, let's cut back over to, I believe Dietrich has been a little neglected here for the last moment. You are in the back at the loading dock. What would you like to get up to?
I would have timed my sprint up there to match Vespers, so that when the lights go off, I'm up there with them.
Okay, perfect. So we can just say that that's your action, and then you watch as his soldier tumbles down like shards of light and dark, collapses on top of these two that were coming out of the loading dock, and now you can see them clearly as apparati, and they drop a cocoon between them, and so the both of you are actually there at the dock at that moment, and you kind of meet up, and you can now see that there are just everyone is stunned around you. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to give this to you because of the fact that they are so shocked and so surprised what just happened. And looking into the building, looks like you could head down a hallway, and you see that hallway that kind of bisects the entire building. But it's past this room, which is like kind of like looks like a back storage room. Oh, and I want to remind you of one thing that's very important. There are probably half a dozen guys on the ground right now by the vehicles, and they all look stunned, but you assume that within another 30 seconds, 60 seconds or so, I don't know, they're going to be up and about. So just to sort of remind you of that.
Yeah. So I'm going to, since TBD and I have rendezvoused on the platform, the loading dock, that guy's knocked everybody down. I usher them both inside the back door here. I just start hustling everybody in.
Yeah.
And as soon as we're through the doorway, I'm going to turn around. I grab my cipher that I have, and I'm just going to plop it. And it's lightning wall projector.
Nice.
So I'm just going to put it like, here's the door frame. It's going to be on the opposite side of it, just straight up the side of the building. And then I'm just going to slam the door.
So essentially sealing it so that no one can kind of come in through.
Yeah. They'll have to, if they want to come through a 30-foot by 30-foot wall of electric bolts and take damage for 10 minutes, that is their choice.
Okay. What's the level of the cipher? If you don't have it, you just roll. I
didn't have it.
It's all right. Roll a 1d6 and we'll call it. We'll add 2 just for fun.
So 4.
Okay, so it's level 6. That you get the impression is more than enough to keep the bad guys out. So with that, let's. You guys are now in the back storage room and looking around. There are some stunned folks on the ground next to you. Let's jump back to the front of the building and find out that soldier has just blasted through the second set of doors, and now it's a clear shot straight down the hall. What are we up to, gentlemen?
We're at the first set of doors at this point, and he's already blasted through the second one, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like the way the doors shut on us last time, Z. I'm going to grab
Give him
the
a
doors.
brick.
That's all you need.
I'm going to grab the doors
Yep.
by their handles.
Yep.
And I'm just going to try to rip them off the hinges.
Oh, what the heck? You're at this point. You
hulking
hold on.
out.
I'm not even going to make you roll for that. And so you do. I like this. This is good drama. So you grab onto both handles and then plant those boots right there on the doors, and then yank with all of your strength, and boom, the first one comes off, and then boom, the second one comes off, and that's it. Those handles are not. They're going to need a seriously trained repair technician to have those close again.
Excellent.
You guys are really hard on doors. No mercy for doors.
Doors are our nemesis.
That's right.
We don't like them.
What are you up to, Z?
I'm going to follow my soldier down the hall, and my intention is to, if my memory is good enough to remember, to find the fridge.
Yeah. That's odd because I would expect Murphy to say something like that.
I
Not-
know
Follow his
exactly
nose.
where it
Your
is.
That's
first-
right. Just follow his nose.
This is role-playing irony, ladies and gentlemen. This is role-playing irony. This is irony on a level never before seen by
Very meta.
mankind. This is super
I
meta
broke the
in
door and
so
he's
many
going for
different
the
ways.
fridge.
I know, you guys have reversed roles. It's like your characters have come full circle. It's like you've learned to sort of think like the other. See, you've completed your
Right.
character arcs. You should get XP for this.
So
But I'm
does
not
that
really
mean-
gonna
has
give it to you.
nothing to do with it.
Does that mean I have a cat now and Vesper can actually roll above a 1?
That's
Yeah,
right.
I can just
Yes.
automatically complete
He
my failed
automatically succeeds every time. You guys, it's a role reversal. And so with that, you start heading down the hallway, and easily you don't even have to think about like where it's at. And the further you get down the hallway,
Got it.
you start to hear sounds, and for a moment you're like, what? And then you realize it's the sounds of children as they're starting to become frightened by all the noise and by what's going on. And so you stop and stop in your tracks for a moment, and then you turn the corner and you're able to finally make it to that area of the kitchen. And now it's in the back. It's probably a few doors down from the storage room in the back, the place where your two compatriots are at the moment. So you're in there, and now you start to hear the feet of children as they're running through the halls somewhere on the floors upstairs.
Okay. Are we staying? You want me to continue?
Yeah, if you two want, we'll keep going with this. Do a little bit more.
I tell the soldier,
Mhm.
keep an eye on the door, and then I open the fridge.
So you throw the fridge open, and it opens easily, and then you kind of see for a moment it looks like it looks like the inside of a fridge, and then it kind of flashes a bit, and you remember that moment where you passed through before, and you enter the refrigerator, and sure enough, there's that dank kind of stairwell that starts to head down. And at that point, what you see and what you run right into are a few staff workers that are coming running up the stairwell. And Frank, I assume you're kind of behind him. Is this correct?
Yeah, I put my soldier as an asset just to watch the exterior doors.
Yeah.
Make sure no one comes up through here. And I was delayed only one moment to break the inner doors as well.
Oh,
Because,
just for
again,
fun. Yeah,
no doors
can't
shall
go
stand.
past. That's right.
It's a motto.
Absolutely.
But
and
but I
I
have a
would
pretty
say
good
that
idea of
Z,
where Z's headed.
you actually pull a Danish off the rack in the fridge and take a bite.
Or
Just
do
in
you?
continuing the role reversal. Let's go back. Let's go back now to Dietrich and to Vesper, who've now sealed the door behind them.
As long as Murphy doesn't burst into flames, I think it'll all
We'll be
work
all
out.
right. It'll work out. Okay.
No
It'll be
promises.
all right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. I can arrange something like that. We'll see.
Oh, sure you can. I think we just kind of make a straight run towards the fridge area. I haven't
Yeah.
been inside though, so I don't really know.
So
I guess just
you're able
describing,
to,
we know where the kitchen is.
with a little bit of work, you're able to sort of shoot through the
Surely we
doorway
drew
and
out some
into-
crude maps.
And there's a lot
uh,
of surely you would think that. It's
Paddle
really
it
simple
stains.
to get there. You manage to move
By
through
the
one
jelly.
hallway, down through one doorway, take a look through there, false start, turn, and then you finally make it there to the kitchen, and the four of you are in that area now. But as you're going through, what you see now as you're passing through the building are children that are coming down the stairs, and they look like they had sort of been sleeping, or maybe they had been standing in a window staring out of it, and they all look rather frightened, and they're building up kind of in the hallways. You get to the soldiers who let you in, and then you're there alongside both Murphy and Z, and the four of you are going to just...
So kids are coming down the hallway?
Kids are coming down the hallway. I mean, if you want to stop and like help them out.
We need to get a detail of our troops to like usher the children out or something.
So the moment you say that, they start to fold out of the walls, and they start to like, go for the children and help them out. They start like moving around. You can kind of see them climbing up stairwells and then running around ceilings and things like that as they move. The impression you get is that they're moving through the building, and they're trying to find those kids and trying to get them out.
Is there, before I go down, is there like an older kid that kind of looks a little more in charge, a little more with it?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. You stop him for a moment. He gives you a look. He looks a little nervous, but he also feels maybe like a little kind of cool here because you stopped him as an adult.
Okay. Then I'm going to use my new power here.
Of course.
Group friendship.
Nice.
I get to convince one sentient creature to regard me and up to 10 creatures that I designate positively as if they were a friend.
Okay. Yeah. I think he probably would have. Yeah. All right. And does it automatically succeed? Or do you have to roll for it?
Of course. I have to spend 4 points.
Okay.
But so I guess
I'll give it to you. He's a kid at this point.
Okay. Then I want to let him know that we are trying to help him get out of the orphanage, and you can follow these other guys out to get as many of the kids as you can and try to go out.
Oh, okay. I can do that. And he starts kind of helping out, and he's calling out kids' names, and he's trying to organize, and he gets the impression, obviously, you explain quickly that the soldiers are there to help, and they start organizing as the kids are kind of filing around, and some of them are crying, and they're searching rooms and all that stuff. So that is now going on.
TBD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Goggle up and just eyeball these children. Make sure they're all human and nothing's happened to them yet.
That's a great idea. I will do that.
Goggling up, there are quite a few. They mostly look human, but there are quite a few that are Vagavarian.
Good to know.
So, can we go back to marching down the stairwell into the several facility workers that are coming up to meet
in our
you?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
So there are a couple of them that are coming up the stairs now. And immediately when they see you, they drop all pretenses of being human, and all 4 of you can kind of see that they are operati. And as they come up, they begin to glow. The hot fires in their chest begin to glow, and the entire kind of stairwell fills with this kind of orange light that reflects off of the stones and off of the ceiling and off of the stairwells. And they actually begin to climb the walls, not with the elegance of the soldiers that you saw before, but kind of in a harder, kind of like clumsier sort of way. And
how many of them are there?
There are 2.
2, okay.
And they start coming at all 4 of you that are kind of bottlenecked at this point. You can tell me what order you're in. I'm assuming that Z is in the front because he's the original person, and then maybe Murphy's right behind. But is it Dietrich Vesper or Vesper Dietrich?
Let's say Dietrich Vesper.
Fine.
I would say that too. And so they're barreling toward you, and I'm going to give them actually this as an attack. Well, you know what? Let's just redo initiative. It's no fun when we stick to... I mean, it's What the heck? We're in a totally different scene now. So everybody go ahead and make a roll.
7.
11.
With my
9.
easing, a 12.
I'm going to say that actually you guys still win this one. You do A-okay. So it's your opportunity to go ahead and attack at this point. You can go in whatever order you want.
You said they're crawling up the walls.
Yeah,
They're no
they've just
longer
kind of
on-
they kind of hopped off of the stairs, and now they're like crawling along, and they're coming right at you. So one of them is actually on the ceiling now, and it's crawling up the stairwell ceiling to get at you.
I'm gonna hit that one with my concussive blast.
Nice.
Release a
Nice.
beam of pure force that smashes into a creature at short range, inflicting 5 points of damage and moving it
Nice.
back an immediate distance.
And the only person in front of you is Z, right?
Correct.
Sounds good. What's the range on it?
It's a short
It's short range.
short range.
What's the radius?
Doesn't say.
Oh, good. It's open to interpretation.
Smashes into a creature at short range.
I like that. Go ahead. So you got that ability. Are you doing anything to like particularly mark the creature or make sure you're hitting the right target?
No.
This,
Act first.
I'm in
then
the
think.
back.
yeah, I know. Very good, Vesper.
Act.
Vesper, you're playing three-dimensional chess with us right now. You just know. You're 17 moves ahead of us.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm
already back
did-
underground.
Yeah.
I rolled an 18.
Nice.
There you
Nice.
go.
You cut loose with that 18, and an 18, just to sort of let people know, when you roll... Oh, for some reason I'm unable to... So as far as rolling an 18 goes, an 18 does 2 extra points of damage in Cipher system. So that is actually going to get you 2 extra points of damage. So instead
that'll
of doing
do 7.
Instead of doing 5, you're actually going to do 7 points of damage. And you unleash with that. Tell us what it looks like.
It's kind of like a.
It's like
It's
that.
almost like a constipation move. and
That's
just
exactly
release.
what I was thinking. I wasn't going to say anything.
It's
but...
all of that cheese I ate.
Ah!
Boom, and all of that force just drives right into the creature on the ceiling,
And you
smashing
can,
into it.
Z can feel the hairs on the back of his head, kind of on his scalp, just standing up as if like it was a little too close for comfort. And that blast hits the operati, and essentially it just shatters. You see it hesitate and pause for a moment, and then it shatters into pieces, and it explodes with magma all around.
Oh,
and you
no.
knock a hole in the stairwell that just erupts almost like a bubble, and you get the impression that whatever's on the other side of it was just like knocked for a loop, whatever happened. And the magma at this point is splashing down almost at your feet, Z, which gives you a little bit of pause, but I'm going to say it's A-okay at this point. Z, you have the chance to go now.
Well, I am going to burst into flame.
Yeah, there we go.
And now
I'm
let me
in the
get this.
back.
With
I was
fire.
gonna
Wait a
say, I was gonna say, the only person directly behind you is Murphy. Correct. This is just about every D&D trope. The only thing we could do right now is split our party. This is like fireballs in an enclosed space.
Yeah. No fireballs. I have to burst into my halo of flames.
Yeah.
If he's gonna do it in front of anybody, do it in front of the resilient guy.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
thinking.
and I mean, nobody has to be, right next to me, and I won't do it when he's.
They
like,
don't have to be. I just
foot
choose to
behind me.
make it that way for fun.
Yeah, but
I
no,
like
I'm gonna,
that
I'm
smoky
gonna,
smell in my clothing.
burst into flames
Yeah.
and kind of charge at the
The second guy.
second guy.
So as you do, you burst into flames, and Murphy, what and actually all of you experience this, you just feel the oxygen almost get sucked out of the tunnel for just a quick moment.
My eyebrows still here.
Eyebrows are still there. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for a while now, and Z has gotten better and better at it each time. The oxygen is sucked out of the stairwell as Z barrels forward. And tell me, how are you gonna what are you gonna do to this guy?
Well, I'm gonna use one of the fire powers that I have, which is called Flame Blade.
Yeah.
And it basically, you know, I guess I'll grab like just some kind of stick or something, and it becomes like a flaming sword.
Yeah, you could grab there's a railing. You can just
grab railing and use it as a sword and attack him. And
nice.
what it does is, while the flame lasts, which is for an hour, it inflicts an additional 2 points of damage.
Cool. And so are you making you're actually making a sword, or is this just for an effect? So you're going to use the piece of wood?
Yeah, so it's the piece of wood, but then it becomes like a flame blade.
Cool.
Is what it says. Yeah.
I like it. All right. So you can make the flame blade. That's no problem. That just happens instantly. But go ahead and roll to strike. So you've got the ability. And I'll say that you have the higher ground, so I'll ease the task by 1 for that. Is there anything else you want to use to ease the task as you attack?
I will call out to him and say, Anakin, I have the high ground. Back off.
I will actually ease the task by 1 for that, for getting that reference. I'm going to do that. Don't try it. I have the high ground. Anakin,
so you
are
then
my
cut
brother.
off all his limbs like in one swipe.
I hate you.
And I will take the sword, which I fashioned after the artwork of the flaming sword that the angel barring Adam and Eve from coming back into the Garden of Eden.
Very
and
specific.
I will smite this
Smite this fool.
Go ahead.
What are they called? Operati.
Operati. Go
And
ahead and
I will roll
roll
a 16.
Nice. So a 16 isn't quite high enough to get you the extra damage, but it's still more than enough to do the job. And having the higher ground, you just take that flaming sword modeled after the sword used to expel Adam and Eve, and you just ram it into the center of the operati. And there's a moment where you suddenly realize that as hot and flaming as that sword is, are you going to make a joke about that? As hot and flaming as that sword is, the operati is hot magma, and it simply passes right through its body, and you land almost eye to eye, staring at it, and you're staring into these two coals like burning embers. And then you just hear what might or might not be English as it says, "My turn." And with that, you're going to have to make a defense roll because you notice that its two arms are coming up and turning into blades. And go ahead and make a defense roll and let me know
And
if
can I use a speed effort on that?
Yeah, you bet. You can use
Okay.
anything you want. You can ease this task any way you want.
Yeah. I will use a speed effort. And
Okay.
let's see. Do I have any other assets?
Any abilities or assets? You already you stationed your soldier up at the door, so.
Yeah.
And I'd say that Murphy's kind of occupied because he is just sort of completing his.
I do have an escaping skill.
I'll give that to you.
Specialized.
Maybe
Okay.
helps you kind of like, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and make your roll.
All right. My roll is a 9.
So with that, that is just barely enough. Those two blades cross right in front of you, and they actually catch on your own flaming blade. And you can hear you can hear the sound, and it doesn't quite make sense, but you hear the sound of metal grinding on metal as those two blades come down, and it's trying to inch farther toward your face or perhaps your neck, as if it were sort of wielding a giant pair of scissors, and it's about to cut your head off. And you see sparks flaming out from where the two are connecting as it moves forward. And now I'm going to give you an attack at this point, and I'm actually going to let Murphy, we're going to say that Murphy's kind of free at this point if he wants to deliver an assist. And here's the other thing, actually, to be honest, we have our two guys in the back. You watch all of this happening. Why don't we just, actually, I'm going to throw it to you guys. Do you want to assist or help in this at all?
Yeah, I can certainly assist by shooting it in the face.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Have the specialization in the
Sure.
shoot him in the face
I'd
skill.
say, that's right. And does that automatically succeed?
No.
Tell
Only
us.
on things with faces.
No.
And Vesper, how would you like to
Unfortunately.
help?
If I'm able to take an action to help, I would love to.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to cast my accelerate
Yeah.
skill. Starting, I'm going to do it with 2 levels of effort so I can get all of my compatriots accelerated, but I have to start with Steve because this will be a multi-action process.
I like it. So with that, go ahead and cast it. And we'll say that we're going to automatically, I'm going to just have it go automatically to Steve because it's not like he's fighting you on it. He's obviously going to be receptive to being enabled in this way. And then how about you make your roll, make your shoot him in the face roll for us, Dietrich.
All right.
What page
I'm
is the
trained-
shoot him on the face roll on?
Just a regular attack, but I'm trained
Okay.
in medium ranged attacks, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna use 2 levels of effort.
Okay.
Only rolled an 8.
That is actually okay, though. You do manage to, and how does it look? Are you firing on him with a pistol?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got your pistol and you fire down, and for the second time tonight, actually I'd say in the last 10 seconds, Z, you feel something tickling the
back of
hairs
my
on the
neck.
scalp of your, on the back of your neck, and you can go ahead and make your attack roll, and we'll count this as all an assist for you. With and
Oh,
Vesper, how's that
mean-
eased?
Oh, you gain an asset on initiative tasks and speed defense rolls for
defense
10
rolls.
minutes.
Okay.
Oh, so it'll be good for defense.
Yeah.
So it looked like my sword did no damage to him, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So then I will use the same power that I used on the guy at the door.
Yeah.
Which is the telekinetic thing,
Got it.
and I will use it almost like I grab him as if it were an invisible hand by the scruff of the neck,
Yeah.
and just throw him backwards.
And now I'm going to say at this point, with the 3 of you doing this, you don't even have to roll at this point. Like, the thing is just pushing forward with those 2 blades, and the sparks are just erupting out of the side of your own. I don't mean for it to get this way, folks. I really don't. But you are able, as it's like putting all of its effort into just cutting into your neck. You're able to just simply use a little bit of a kind of an Aikido move there and grab it by the back of the head, and you just tip it, and it goes tumbling down the stairs, just end over end. And the only thing that worries you about this is that as it rolls, waiting at the bottom of those stairs is Priscilla.
Oh, shit.
And the 4 of you get a signal. You get a message in your head. And that message is not good. And so with that, we're going to go to a 10-minute break. Please do stay with us if you've been watching along. If you like what you've seen, please think about liking and subscribing. We would very much appreciate that. We're going to take a 10-minute biological break. We will be right back after the countdown to conclude this adventure. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after our well-earned biological breaks. Thank you very much for sticking around. Let's see if we can conclude tonight's adventure in under an hour. So when we last left our group of heroes, they had been battling it out on a stairwell leading into the basement. And so for those of you at home that might not have seen prior episodes of the Fierce Brood, contained in that basement were, well, some sort of biological manufacturing center that was creating a creature called the skin dog, which has been kind of like bothering our four heroes throughout most of our adventure. That's right. Though there's, I'm an English teacher, so you got to understand there was some context to him being bothered in the shower. It wasn't. Anyway, moving right along. So what we believe that our heroes have just entered is some sort of weird laboratory. And they had just knocked an apparati off his feet, sent him tumbling down the stairwell to the feet of Priscilla, who is one of the head nurses here at the Sunshine House. And Priscilla had looked up at our four heroes, and being psychically linked in a way that they may or may not have been aware of, they got a very bad and foreboding feeling that they had done something not so good. So at this point now, I'm going to leave it up to my players, and I'm going to say this. At this point, what you know is that in the rest of the Sunshine House, soldiers and some of the older children are working to organize an evacuation of the Sunshine House. You're a little bit cut off from them at this point, so you don't know exactly what's going on, but that was what you last knew that they were doing. At this point now, Priscilla is standing at the bottom of the stairwell. She looks very, very confident. Very, very angry. And she's simply staring the four of you down on the landing. And that apparati that Z had just knocked down the stairs is slowly getting up. And you can see the two coal embers of its eyes just flaring red and orange. And it's set on getting you, Z. It's not happy about that, but it seems momentarily under control there with Priscilla. She takes a few steps back. She shifts her weight from one foot to the other, and now she doesn't look like the trainee that you saw in the Sunshine House all those many episodes ago. There's a confidence to her that you haven't seen before. And she just waits and smiles, wondering if you boys are going to actually attack.
Well, if we can take an action, I'm going to try something.
If you're going to take an action, we're going to roll for initiative. I mean, I'm dropping us down out of combat mode and giving us a bit of a pause here. But the moment you make a combat action, we're going to roll for initiative. If you're doing something non-combat-y...
It's not combat-y.
Are you going to hold a conversation with her, Vesper?
Right, that's like kind of what I'm wondering.
I'm going to hold a really long conversation with her where she can't really do anything.
I would say that that's non-combat-y. I'll let you make an attempt.
No. I will have a slight preamble to it and ease my way in. And I'll just kind of peek around my friends and give her the stink eye and say, I saw you on the steps taking children off the streets into your Sunshine House. But I'll tell you, will you be able to take those actions you'd like to against them? And I will go right into enthralling her.
So as you begin your preamble, her eyes shift from one to the other, and then land on you. And when those eyes, that gaze hits you, the brown of her corneas starts to fade and disappear. It may become white. And as you begin to speak, her hair, as if filled with static electricity, begins to rise. Except as it rises, it's filled with what almost seems like an icy kind of wind or flakes of snow. So at this point, if you want to actually have your rambling soliloquy have an effect on her, you're going to have to make a roll for this. So you have the ability.
Jesus.
Are you easing the task at all?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What's gonna...
Use your expert skill.
Yeah. I borrow expert skill from TBD.
Excellent.
I have persuading and deceiving. I'm going to use persuading skill in this, which I am specialized in. And I'm going to apply 2 levels of intellect effort.
Wow. You're pulling out the big guns.
I don't like her.
I don't
and
have
she's
enough
overly
hands for that.
Confident, and I think she needs to just stop.
Okay.
And I'm very angry that we know what's going on here. I've caught them in the act and of all of this, and it's just no. So okay, there we go.
Go ahead and make your roll.
A 9.
Damn it.
When you begin to talk to her, the usual sorts of stuff start to come out. The usual sorts of things that they seem to work even on Coatsworth all those weeks ago. But Priscilla just ain't having any of it. And as you continue to talk, you're a little bit, well, I don't know. I don't want to tell you how you feel, but let's just say this. You don't feel confident. And her hair begins to rise, and she actually raises her hands as if she had nothing to hide. And she takes a few steps back, and that apparati, that one that Z knocked to the ground, stands beside her and shifts its own weight, stepping back and moving, flanking almost, off to your left. And I assume that each one of you is kind of taking steps down the stairs. Is that a safe assumption? Or are you waiting on the landing?
I'm happy to shoot her from here. I'll continue to
Same
walk.
here.
I'm happy to shoot her from here.
Okay, so you two are
I
not...
have these ranged weapons.
Because
when I
she...
realize,
Go
when
ahead.
I realize this isn't working, I just shout, "Get her!"
Good Ghostbusters reference. I like that. Get her. That was your whole plan. Get her. The thing that I'm trying to get at here, though, as she moves back, is as you're looking down the stairwell, she's essentially moving out of range. Like, first you can see her whole body. Then you can see, like, from the shoulders down. Then you see from the waist down. Then you see from the knees down. She's essentially drawing you in to the basement. And now she disappears, and whether her hands are up or not, you have no idea. And then with that, the lights go out. And you think you can see maybe that sort of smoldering red-orange coal glow of the apparati. But you're really not sure because you have no idea what is down there.
Does my doorway vision highlight anything here and give me any...
Your doorway vision is going off like crazy. You're in Vagavarians now.
But does it help me with vision in this
Oh, I'm sorry.
environment?
It conceivably it would. You haven't been in a pitch black environment yet.
What about my vision?
You
Murphy,
oh,
don't
go
you
ahead.
have a flashlight?
Yes.
I do actually.
So
Wait, isn't Z a ball of flame?
I'm in flames. I don't know
Oh,
what
good
that's
point.
doing to the light, but
Oh,
With a flaming sword?
then all that is doing is casting flame, light, reflections down the stairwell to the foot of the stairwell, and past that, you don't know. Dark and
what
shadowy.
is the operati doing? Is he following
The
Priscilla, or is
operati
he?
had backed up with her. There's
I'll,
nothing
I'll
in your
follow
vision.
down the stairs. I want
You
to follow down the
step
stairs.
down the stairs, lighting the area immediately around you. And then as you enter the basement, you can see flickering light off of all of those tables that you saw before. And most of them are empty now. They're empty in this sort of way where there's this gooey kind of membranous sort of substance. It looks like those cocoons were pulled out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Looking deeper as your flames kind of light the room, flickering, you now see that Priscilla is standing there with several other operati. And she is also with the 3 thugs that you met at the Boston Public Library, 2 of which, if Murphy recalls, he remembers from seeing in lines looking for work, or maybe at the soup kitchens. One of which was female. And
In a wedding dress.
He didn't, right, in a wedding dress.
Yeah.
That he does not remember. So in total, it looks like she's got 4 members of her team with her. And her hair is now formed into almost a storm of snow swirling. And you can't see it clearly. It's only through the flickering light of your own flaming form and of your flaming sword that you can see her. But most disturbingly, in the back of the room, it looks like there are still some pods in there. And they're moving, rocking back and forth.
Well, we get to find out what's in those things.
Like an egg about to
That's
hatch.
a positive.
Maybe.
The jig is up.
She says nothing. And she starts to stare back at you. And there's something about that swirling hair and that snow that just looks so comfortable to you. Each one of you. And right now, each one of you need to make a defense roll. Because you get the urge to just step forward and walk into that, well, it's a snowstorm, but it looks so warm and inviting to each one of you. She smiles. She's got her hands out now. And now she brings them forward as if she were to embrace each one of you. And each one of you feels that you are the one she's speaking to. But wait a minute, she's not speaking, or is she? But you feel invited.
I have 2 things to say.
Okay. One.
Z, you have an asset to your speed defense rolls right now for 10 minutes. And what's happened to Sewell? Where did he end up, or what's he been up to?
Well, okay, let's just say this. This is always an interesting thing, and I'll let my viewers kind of know this. This is a bookkeeping issue. So the players a few hours ago had another character, an NPC named Sewell, who they were bringing along, and they had kind of forgotten about him. They'd forgotten about exactly what they wanted to do with him. So at this point, why don't we just retroactively kind of decide? Did you want to send him off to do something? Did you want him to wait for you? It's perfectly possible that, what do you think?
I want him to appear behind Priscilla and grab her and put her in a headlock.
I have my limits.
Mars was off looking for his kitty. Maybe he was helping her with that, and maybe they're done by now. I don't know.
Boom. Okay.
Or they
Taken
found
care
a
of.
knife or something.
Taken care of. Totally get it. Don't worry about it. I know where he is now.
Okay.
We're making defense rolls.
You're making defense rolls. But James had a second thing to bring up. I was just waiting for that.
No, that was it. That was the
it.
second.
Oh, that was
The
oh,
first
that
was
said
Z has.
I get
right.
the speed defense
Yep.
and
Z?
and Sewell. Yeah.
You're right.
So we're making rolls.
Making defense rolls. If there's anything you want, you're basically falling for this woman somehow.
You.
Anything you want to use as assets, or you get this.
So what do I get for that speed thing, James?
You
2
get an
plus 2?
asset.
Oh, so I reduce it by 1. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll use that, and I'll use a speed effort, and I rolled a 9.
All right. Let's get some other rolls in there.
All right. I will use an intellect effort, and I am trained in intellect defense tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use those 2, and I will roll a 13.
Mm-hmm.
I am specialized in seeing through tricks such as lies, deception, and illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Specialized.
Yeah.
And then I will also add effort to this.
1 level or 2?
She's scary. I'm going to do 2.
And I'm going to give you 1 more to ease it, just because you're kind of familiar with this whole, try and hypnotize them kind of gig.
13.
Mm-hmm. Dietrich?
I am trained in intellect defense, and I will use 2 levels of effort.
Got it.
15.
Okay. Murphy, Vesper, and Dietrich, you are shocked as you watch Z suddenly his flames don't go out, but they dim slightly, as if that rage and that anger were leaving him. And he begins to take a few steps forward toward Priscilla. And as if she were selecting her target, she now kind of ignores the other 3 of you. And she focuses in on you, Z, smiling. And you see her, and you see in her hair that swirling snow. You see her sitting by a fire, waiting for you. And you see yourself walking through the snow, going to meet her. And so with that, I need everybody to roll for initiative right now. Oh, stop.
No. Roll.
Go ahead. Except for, I'm not going to let Z roll, but I'll count him in on all of this.
Sure.
Rack.
19.
7.
10.
Okay, the 19 is very good here. So you boys get to go first. She's focused on your friend here, and Z is just sort of stepping forward. He looks
Then
like...
I am going to immediately yell at Z. Fight it off, Z. She creates skin dogs. And I'm going to pay it forward so that it eases his task for, the next minute. So he has an easement on his defense.
Okay. How long was that?
1 minute. He's eased.
Okay, perfect.
Pay it forward for 1 minute.
Okay, perfect. So then we'll just say that that's going to work on his next defense task. All right. So who would like to go next? And I'll give you the option. You sort of feel like disembodied here. You're almost watching yourself step forward, and you're like, why am I doing this? So you do have the option. Who wants to go next?
She has to go, guys. Take her out.
I'm gonna hop in and accelerate Murph.
Okay. You're basically aiding him to give him a...
Actually, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
No. I'm gonna make the
I was
okay.
slow, my help.
I got slower.
I'm gonna help in a different way. I rush forward and clap Murphy on the shoulder, and just give him some encouraging words.
Mm-hmm.
Now's your moment, Francis. And I'm gonna cast Stimulate on him.
Woo!
And your next action is eased by 3 steps.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a wonderful moment waiting to happen. And so it's now between Murphy and Z.
Come on,
So-
Murph.
I'm going to not waste an action lining up a shot, but I'm going to shoot at Miss Priscilla,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to use my careful shot ability
Yeah.
where I can use speed or intellect levels of effort to increase gun damage,
Yes.
and I will use speed 2 levels of effort.
Yeah.
So
Two
each
levels
level
of
effort
effort.
will add,
Yeah.
right? So it potentially 6 more damage
Mhm.
to this attack.
Mhm.
And
So you got your weapon, and then you're easing the task by
By Vesper's 3.
Vesper's 3.
And then 2 effort.
So we're up to about 5. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
16.
Boom.
Pew 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 pew.
You managed to
Pew,
hit
pew.
her and hit her hard. It's a square shot to the chest. How many points of damage is that?
That's 4 for the revolver, plus 1 for being a gunner, plus 6 is 11 total damage.
You stagger her, and I just mean stagger like a lowercase stagger, and not in gaming terms. And she's
Right.
just the snow that is swirling in her hair just suddenly turns to like icy sleet, and just it fires down at the floor. And when it does so, what you see in the cement are small little pock marks, like small bullets that do no damage to her, but mark up the floor terribly. And if that had been flesh, who knows what it had really done. And you, Z, just suddenly have this feeling like you're being drawn backward, but then you're still held on to. And go ahead at this point, you move back in the forest,
Okay.
and then come back forward, and then back. And you see her at the fire as she falls to the floor somewhere in this cabin, and she starts weeping. So at this point, you're free to try and shake this off, or...
Yeah, so I'm still kind of in the thrall, but I can
Yeah.
try to fight it.
Yeah.
All right, I will do so, and I get that bonus from.
Yeah. It's eased by 1. Go ahead.
And that is off the table. That's an 18.
18. So you are able to finally shake that thing off, and you almost spring backward. And when that happens, she shrieks, and again the hair swirls, and there's it's like an explosion from her hair as these tiny bolts of sleet fire out from within the darkness of her hair, and they blast pockmarks into the ceiling. And when this happens, all 4 of the creatures that are with her just barrel forward. And each one, just for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to go around from Frank to Steve to James, and then finally, oh my gosh, it's so hard to do this with the thing reversed, and then to Jared. So Frank, you've got one person coming at you. It is the one with the baseball bat, if you recall. I forget what we named him, but it is the guy with the baseball bat. At this point, what are you doing to defend yourself?
I'm punching him in the face.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Straight, direct, right to the point. Gets the job done. Why be fancy when you can just, yeah, I get it.
I'm applying my bash.
Bash?
For 1 might. Yep, it's just 1 might point, 1 less point of damage, but dazes target.
Okay, and then anything else? Expending any effort or using like some sort of an asset, or you're not going to shoot?
No.
Okay.
I want to feel the flesh of his face on my fist.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's a 12.
So you do manage to hit, and what's the damage on that?
So punch and kick, it's going to be only 1 damage.
Okay.
But it dazes the target. Difficulty of all tasks is increased by 1 step for the next round.
So he comes flat out at you, just in the same way that you were going flat out at him when you were bashing him, and you just managed to crunch his nose in and knock him to the floor. And when that happens, let's go to Steve, as you have just sort of freshly broken yourself, shaken off the remnants of this kind of spell that you were under, and you've got the woman in the wedding dress that's coming straight at you, and she's pulling something out of her dress as she bolts towards you. How are you going to defend yourself?
Wait, am I defending myself or can I make an attack?
No, you're defending yourself at this point because the 4 of you just made your attacks. You had the initiative. I allowed you to use your attack to shake this off, but now I'm going to let you defend.
I'm gonna use my hasty acceleration.
Okay.
From Vesper, and then just try to, I guess, kind of fall to the ground to avoid any attack that's coming at my head. Whatever she's trying to do, just kind of fall.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll count that as an asset.
Okay.
Go ahead and anything else?
That is, I rolled a 17. So.
Oh, you're fine with it then. So you managed to get out of the way as she kind of takes a swing at you, and she completely misses. And now a 4th, or I should say a 3rd character is coming at you, Vesper, and you recognize this character. If you recall, the last time you faced this non-player character, this character had thrown up a wall that you had run through, and it just knocked you flat on your face.
That's right.
And as he's coming at you, he raises his hands in the same way that he did once before, and he begins to, it's almost like he's throwing something at your feet.
Well, it turns out I'm a firebender, so I can fight. No, just kidding. Is it now my turn?
It is your turn to defend as he comes at you. What do you want to do to defend against him? I'll give you the experience that you've had with him as 1 on that. But is there anything you want to specifically use?
I'll just do a level of effort.
Yep.
Yeah, not much else I can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
10.
You are easily able to resist, and what you feel is something like a heavy metal bar. Invisible, not there, landing at your feet and almost rattling around on the cement. And you're able to dodge out of the way. And now that you have your Vagavarian kind of feet about you, and since you've dealt with this fellow before, you can see almost a ghost-like image as a wall just erupts from whatever this bar is out of the ground. And now it's as plain as day to you. Not to everybody else, but to you. And now our final player, for you, Dietrich, you have the operati coming at you. And that operati at this point has formed both of its hands into blades. And these blades are glowing hot like magma as they move toward you. And then it raises both of them, leaps into the air, and starts to come down. How are you?
Okay, then
avoiding
this is a speed defense. I'm gonna kind of tuck and roll and go under his leap attack. So I'm trained in speed defense, and I'm gonna use 2 levels of effort.
Yep. Okay.
It's only an 11.
Only an 11. You're easily able to dodge this fellow. Now,
All right,
the unfortunate thing here is that Priscilla watches all 4 of these things happen. And as she does so, she raises her hands one more time, lowers her head, and from both of her hands, you see what looks like almost an immense a construction of snow in each hand that blasts outward. And it just goes straight forward. They go 1 for you, Z, and 1 for you, Vesper. And these 2 things come straight at you, and you're going to need, unfortunately, to make another defense for these. Whatever is going to happen when they hit you, you don't know.
Okay. So I have, whenever I have something called a ward, which is a shield of energy around me at all times that helps deflect attacks. It's a +1 to armor. What does that mean?
So armor is basically what absorbs. It soaks up your damage. So let's say that one of these bolts hits you and it does 4 points of damage. Your armor will soak up, that armor that you have, the +1, will soak up 1 point of that damage.
Okay, cool. So I have that to keep in mind, but hopefully I'll be able to dodge.
Unless this ignores armor.
Yeah, whatever.
So you're saying it ignores armor?
Unless it does.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. If it did, it would ignore that +1. Going right through it, causing full damage. I'm just saying.
Okay. So I should have an asset because I did fall to the ground.
Yeah, so maybe you're kind of a little bit off. Yeah, sure. Why not?
A little bit.
You have the accelerate asset as well.
Yeah.
I have the accelerate asset. So I'm going to kind of do like a roll maneuver, and then I'll use a speed effort to give me 1 more. And I roll a 5.
That blast hits you, dealing 3 points of intellect damage, which ignores armor.
Ignores armor.
And
So
you feel
I lose
a bolt of pain.
So I lose
through
3
your
intellect
skull.
points? Is that what you're saying?
You lose 3 intellect points.
Okay.
Same thing is coming at you, Vesper.
Lucky for me, I expend effort, I suppose. That's it.
Okay.
14.
14. You are barely able to make it, and you feel the hair on your scalp stand up as that bolt just cuts through the darkness, leaving a trail right behind it. So now we're back up at the top of the round.
No, we're not.
Oh.
In response to me successfully rolling a speed defense roll, I can seize the moment
Excellent.
Seize the moment.
Okay.
and
Go right
gain
ahead.
an action.
Yep.
So,
Carpe momente.
so I'm going to use my action to actually shoot Priscilla.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I am trained in the attack, and I'm going to use 2 levels of effort.
Train in the attack, 2 levels of effort.
Rolled a 9.
A 9 hits her. What's the damage on that?
4.
She is now visibly winded by this, and this knocks her back. And she just, her hair lights up. You see that explosion of sleet just firing out, and you get the idea that, like, if you are in the wrong, if you get a little too close to her, you're going to be feeling this cutting through you. And she begins to just, like, hiss like a monster. And now you start to see some of her skin begin to almost break off of her body, as if there was something beneath her that was wrestling, trying to get out, as if this weren't her true form. And she stumbles forward. And now we're back up at the top of the round with Jared's permission.
Yep. I'll allow it.
I will allow it.
I have post seize the moment.
I know. I was going to say, I have post seize the moment, seize the moment.
Well, I'll seize this moment at the top.
I have
of
seized the
order
post.
here.
Seize the moment.
Since we were making Mel Brooks references, you guys remember History of the World?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
When
the
the Roman soldier goes to he says seize them, and Gregory Hines' character goes, seize this, honkus.
Yeah.
So that's
on
what
the list.
Gregory
we're doing.
Hines-
That's
Gregory
That's
Hines
so
is
good.
awesome. I hate to
Yeah.
digress here for a moment, but I just want to say I watched Gregory Hines is a great actor. Of course, we all know that he's a wonderful dancer, right? But I was watching Running Scared the other night. He and Billy Crystal were so good together in that, and Gregory Hines was particularly good because, like, Billy Crystal's kind of the goofy one, and well, they're both kind of goofy, but Gregory Hines has this kind of. I really wish they'd made a sequel of that. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to have an episode of The Gregory Hines Show where I'm going to talk all about how great Gregory Hines is in another episode. But for right now, let's get back to the battle. We're at the top of the
Great.
round.
I through the Octocom to our new friend group, to the troopers, say, assist us in the basement. Then
Mhm.
yes.
Well, I was going to say that they're all pretty occupied at the moment, but they say that they're going to do their
Children.
best. The children are actually, there's a lot of children, and they kind of give you this signal back, like, we're military, sir. We're not kindergarten teachers, and to be honest, we're not trained for this sort of thing. And you get the
And
impression.
assist us in the basement.
Well, the idea is that they don't want to leave the kids just out in the middle of the street.
All right. Well, they can figure it out. But what I'm going to do while here in the basement
Mm-hmm.
is I'm going to use my ability disincentivize
Mm-hmm.
on our enemies, and so I just say,
Can you use it on all 5 that are present?
yeah, everybody.
Okay.
And so I just, what's a good catchphrase? I don't think you're going to want any of this. And yeah, all of their
I can
actions,
see that on a t-shirt.
I hinder all actions attempted by all those targets.
For what, like the next round or whatever? Or for a
Yes.
minute or? Okay.
Affected targets' actions are hindered for 1 round.
Ooh.
Okay.
It does
so
say just all actions.
go ahead and make that roll. And let me know if you're expending like any effort or whatever. Are you
Yeah, I'm
trained or
gonna-
specialized?
I don't know. It's an ability.
Oh, okay. All right. So any effort?
I will, if I can add a skill of persuading
Yeah.
to disincentivize them.
Absolutely,
I am
you can.
specialized in that.
Okay.
And then I'll add a level of intellect effort.
Mhm.
For 14.
So here's what happens. You can kind of see The 4 thugs stop for a moment, and you got him. But Priscilla, no dice. So
Next.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm done. Next.
Next.
Ooh.
Murph, let's take her down.
She looks pretty staggered at this point.
He does, but
Yeah.
this guy with the bat is hanging out here.
Yeah. He's getting up,
So,
and you
I
gotta
just
make a
popped
choice.
him in the face.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot at him right now.
Okay, so you're not going after Priscilla.
You will have to wait and see.
Oh, okay.
I like
Oh,
Seize the
I like
moment.
it. I like it. That's
Right.
right.
I
Seize
seized the moment.
Right. This guy's the immediate threat with his little bat.
Yeah.
And by my math, he's dazed from my punch in his nose.
Yes, you're right.
And he's further debilitated by Vesper's little action.
That's correct.
He seems
because,
pretty spacey right now.
Right.
So I am going
teamwork.
to careful shot him with my intellect effort to try and put him down for good.
So he's like staggering.
Right. Ooh, I got an 18 again.
Point blank in the face, you shoot him, he goes down.
Nice.
That is exactly what I wanted to have happen here. Because I will use 2 speed points to use my successive attack skill.
Oh.
There you go.
If you take down a foe, you can immediately make another attack on the same turn.
Can I add one thing to this, though?
Sure.
Don't worry, it's not going to be something like it resists armor or whatever. As soon as you shoot him, he disappears. And he reappears right next to you, Vesper, but he's laying on the floor, and you just see an explosion of blood kind of come out of the front of his forehead. Now you can make your second attack. I just wanted to
Cool.
I wanted to get that in there.
Scary.
Second attack on the same turn against a new foe within reach or view. The second attack is part of the same action.
Okay, so with Priscilla.
So it will cast, it's going to be Priscilla.
Okay. Now,
And
it's and her tasks are not eased.
right.
Is there anything else that you're getting here to ease your own attack on her? Or I should say, her tasks are not hindered. Is there anything you're doing to ease your own attack on her?
No, I really can't leverage might in this particular attack because it's just
You're
unless I
running low?
squeeze the trigger really hard. Which might actually
I'll say there's might in this because the gun is part of your body.
Oh, that's true.
If you want to expend some effort,
I will, because
effort is totally fine. Like, you don't have to necessarily justify effort. Effort can be used just, you expend points for it. You don't. It's nice when you can come up with a reason, but I think technically speaking, you can use effort anytime you want.
to bleed it out. All right, so my might edge is 5.
Okay.
Shit.
So
Wow.
I'm
that's-
resilient.
So
people.
basically,
this
the
is my
first
thing.
level of effort is free, and then the second level is also free because it costs 2. So you're not
Right.
actually taking anything out of your might pool.
Damn.
Yeah.
I am if I add another level of effort, which I will.
Okay.
I'm gonna take another.
So I'm gonna say, tell us what happens because you don't even have to roll for this with all that
I
effort.
don't have to roll for it.
Nope,
Shoot her
not
in
at
the
this point.
face.
Well, I managed to clip one off at her
Yeah,
while she's doing all her snowy things.
yeah.
And I hit her
Mm-hmm.
squarely in the chest.
Boom. Center mass, knock her back. What's the
Right in the
damage on
core.
that?
Oof. All right, that's 5.
That does it.
That's 5.
She only had 4
She's
points
down.
left. She just. And when you hit her though, you can see her coming apart at the seams. Like she isn't who she really is, and she just hits the ground, her body
Transform.
kind of sliding back, and then her head kind of cocking like a doll with a broken neck. and the flesh of her face kind of peeling back. And it's all bloody now at this point. And now as soon as that happens, any other of the goons that are looking at you just smile. And then they begin to move backward, disengaging. And one of them throws the latch on a nearby door. Throws it open, and then they retreat out the back. And there are still a couple
Can
of
I
those
get a shot
pods.
off at him?
Yeah, if you want to take a pot shot, they're not engaged.
7 with 3 easements.
7
Between
with
training
3.
and 2 levels of efforts.
You hit one of them.
Excellent.
I assume sending a message, because that wasn't quite enough to kill him.
They smiled when they left. You gotta
Adding
hey.
insult to injury.
I guess so.
I'll give you XP for that though, because that's particularly low.
Yeah.
That's just so low. It's just so petty too. I think it's the pettiness that really
It's like,
that's earned the
we're-
XP right there.
we're waving the white flag. Boom, in the face.
I know, and they're turning around in the
I
back.
got your
not in the
white flag
face.
right here.
You shot one of them in the ass as they were retreating.
Nice.
They leave, and as they run out, what you see are those 2 cocoons as they begin to kind of shake. And then first one falls off a table, and then the other one falls off a table. And they
Facehuggers.
begin to almost hatch. And as you step, I assume you're going to approach these things?
I actually want to
Sort of,
approach
kind of.
Priscilla and see who she really is.
I feel like it's like Army of Darkness. Wait, it's a trap. It's one of those. But go ahead, Z. You're in.
Z, you step
Well, I'm not
up.
going to. Yeah, I want to see if I can see who
I'm
Priscilla
not going
is.
alone.
Yeah.
You step
Her
up.
eyes open.
You step up toward Priscilla. And you see those bits of flesh, and you kneel down and reach out very carefully, not really wanting to touch it. You start to peel back her face. And what you see is the face of the Monsignor.
I knew it.
And then those 2 cocoons falling, now shaking, and looking up the stairwell, because you were in the basement, you can kind of see there's a difference now. The light outside looks different, and you realize that where you are now is in Vagavar. But there's some sort of, and you can see this, Vesper. You can see that what they've just done is opened a doorway out of Vagavar and back to Earth. And you hear the sounds of those motors starting up, of the trucks, and men, or creatures I should say, scrambling, doors slamming. And as all 4 of you come up the stairwell, you see them screeching off, and these 3 trucks pull out. And you know that they have on board whatever these things were in the cocoons, and they are heading towards Commonwealth Pier, and perhaps to get them onto a ship to deliver them to Vagavar. And looking out, you can see that the soldiers are working with the children, and you can see among them still you, Dietrich. Some of them are Vagavarian, but for the most part, they're human. And so with that, we are going to end for tonight.
Quick question.
Yeah.
It was the vice rector, not the Monsignor, right?
No, I said the Monseigneur.
Interesting. Okay.
And so on that note, we're ending for tonight. Thank you all very much for watching. We will see you next week for what I think will be our final episode of Season 1.